Every year, COGconnected editors gather in the Press X to Podcast battlebridge to suss out the best games of the year. Or maybe it's better to say, our best games of the year. There's invariably a passion project or two that make the list out of the blue, and we think that's a-okay. The catch, we have to agree on the list. COG's category-based awards are decided strictly by votes from the team, but the 10 best is more personal. 2019 was a strong year for games. As I ran through the list of notable titles this year, I'd forgotten how amazing the first half was. Resident Evil 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 both landed in January. From there, just about every month had a game in the mix for this list. To hear how we got there, you can check out our Game of the Year episode on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Now, without further ado, onto the list. Number 10. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. Don't let a 10th place finish fool you. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is a damn fine game, and the culmination of oh so many years of work by Koji Igarashi and his team. Drawing on the best parts of his signature Castlevania style, Bloodstained is a love letter to fans of Iga's prior work. Heck, even the title mirrors the PS1 classic Symphony of the Night. For a time, it looked like this game might never release, but it did, and it delivers an experience that harkens back to those simpler times. The design and mechanics are deliberately straight out of the 90s, but have so finely and precisely honed their feel as to be truly worthy of note. Number 9. Days Gone. Remember the aforementioned passion projects? Days Gone is one of those. From a bird's eye view, it really isn't doing anything special. It's an open world filled with markers and objectives, with a sweeping story that's arguably overlong. And yet, it finds its home here at number 9. Mighty number 9? No, that's another thing entirely. Days Gone isn't anywhere close to perfect, but a few people saw something more than the standard mechanics pulled out of an open world starters kit. Sam Witwer is outstanding as Deacon, delivering a heartfelt performance of a more or less boilerplate story, and the game looks great even if the performance can be unstable. The thing that really pushed Days Gone into the top 10 was without a doubt the Freaker Hordes. The tension of scrambling to escape a horde is top-notch, and setting the perfect trap to wipe out hundreds of zombies is incredibly satisfying. Not everyone loves this game, but Days Gone is well worth a playthrough, and we're confident Bend Studios' inevitable PS5 sequel will blow minds. Number 8. Fire Emblem 3 Houses. It's always exciting to see a well-known franchise make the jump to a new platform. 3 Houses made that jump rather successfully, pulling all the classic strategy maneuvering and relationship drama you can handle onto the Nintendo Switch. The turn-based strategy is better than it's ever been, keeping the permadeath that makes Fire Emblem battles so thrilling, but adding in a few mulligans to make things more approachable for modern players. As we said in our review, it's having choice at all that matters. Beloved sidekicks start dragging in my wake, becoming baggage I can no longer carry. By the last stretch, I'm utterly merciless. Such are the wages of war. What matters is that you have this choice at all, something I recognize as critical for different types of players. Outside of battle, well, that's where things really ramp up for a lot of people. Though missing the option to bone your coworkers, it'd be weird when they're students and you're the instructor. 3 Houses, tea parties, and monastery are a deep, dark rabbit hole we loved falling into for hundreds of hours. If you've got any love at all for strategy and personal tales amongst world-ending consequences, Fire Emblem 3 Houses should absolutely be on your pile of shame in 2020. Number 7. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. In a lot of ways, Sekiro was a pretty risky project for From Software. Dark Souls-like is a phrase that blesses about half of game reviews these days, so messing with that formula must have been a bit terrifying. Would the famously controlling Activision let them do their thing their own way? Well, they did, and the resulting game is utterly brilliant. In our review we proclaimed, the colorful world of Ashina is a far cry from the gothic, gloomy nature of From Software's previous worlds, and a welcome one at that. What I admire most about Sekiro's world is how the beauty is juxtaposed by bloody carnage and brutal enemies. The appearance alone is enough of a fresh take, but how it's designed to embrace the game's traversal mechanics makes it my favorite world from the studio so far. Perhaps most interestingly, Sekiro tells a straightforward yet engaging story, and that alone was enough to drag the souls weary of us back into the fray. What kept us was the fast, brutal, and precise combat, which is leagues deeper than it seems on the surface. It's not for the faint of heart thanks to the absolutely brutal boss encounters, but Sekiro is well deserving of a place on this list. Number 6. Disco Elysium. The dark horse that is Disco Elysium took the gaming world by storm this past few weeks. And why not? It's one of the best written and most fascinating narratives yet created in a game. The simple point-and-click adventure game formula is put to shame by Disco's relentless adversary, your own psyche. Gamers are tuned to choose options they believe will advance the story, or achieve the outcome they want, and Disco is structured to mess with us. Talking ties, absurd dialogue trees, and the ability to fail at just about everything makes Disco Elysium a truly special experience. It doesn't account for absolutely everything, but it gets as close to that as we've seen a game go. Sweeping emotional changes happen with no notice, with internal character dialogue that closely mirrors the human decision-making process. Number 5. Resident Evil 2. There was a bit of a kerfuffle about this pick. Do remakes count? We decided yes, though remasters probably don't, and thank the gaming gods we did so. Leaving Resident Evil 2 off this list would be absolute heresy. A brilliantly remade version of the classic horror title, RE2 still scares the pants off people who don't know it, and this implementation of Capcom's re-engine looks unbelievably good. Not just content to spit out an old game for full price, Capcom really put work in on RE2. It's brilliantly set up for speedruns, offers a ton of different costumes, music, and routing options, and plays really, really well. Sure, the puzzles and inventory management are a pain, but we were glad to see those callbacks intact, juxtaposed against the ultra-modern visuals. Whether or not you have any nostalgia for the Resident Evil franchise of old, RE2 is a fantastic title. Number 4. Jedi Fallen Order. Warts and all, Jedi Fallen Order climbed pretty high on our 2019 Game of the Year list. Unlike some of the mainline movies, Fallen Order tells a story that carries some weight. It builds characters organically, and by the final moments you'll be deeply invested in their well-being. Fallen Order throws nostalgia in to sweeten the pot, but it stands strong on its own, on top of characters like Cal, Grease, and BD1. It does something that any great spin-off has to do, explore an area that we don't really know about. Star Wars fans are desperate to re-engage with the franchise in a new way, and Jedi Fallen Order absolutely nails that side of things. It does feel rushed though. Scripting doesn't always work, there are plenty of problems with the console versions, and the combat doesn't feel perfectly dialed in. We think it could have used a few more months of polish. If that had happened, there's a decent chance Jedi would stand atop our list. Number 3. Outer Wilds. Dark horse number 2 on our Game of the Year list is here. Outer Wilds is an ambitious, beautifully constructed game that completely does away with any indication of what you're supposed to be doing. It sounds intimidating, but Outer Wilds is incredibly good at teasing out your next course of action. The sense of mystery is really second to none, and the music does a great job of indicating nearby points of interest. The solar system feels massive despite being quite small physically, and that's critical to the success of a game that depends on your curiosity to keep pressing you forward. Perhaps most amazingly, you can complete the game in about 5 minutes once you figure things out. Our only regret is that we can't forget everything about this game and experience it again from the start. Number 2. Control. Control very nearly grabbed the top spot on this list. It won or ranked highly in a ton of our categories, but fell just short overall. A rocky console launch contributed to some sour feelings about it, but it was universally praised for its great narrative and outstanding characters like Ati and Dr. Darling. The world building is marvelous, and exploring the oldest house is really fun, but Remedy Entertainment was already known for telling intriguing and bizarre tales in games. With Control, they finally married that magic to a flexible and exciting combat and traversal system. There's almost a Metroid-like structure to the world, and battling the Hiss, though they themselves aren't super diverse, is constantly entertaining thanks to Jesse's awesome powers. The physics engine in play here is oh so good, and just breaking stuff in the world would be enough to push Control to the brink of victory. But only one game could top this list. Number 1. Death Stranding. This will be a controversial decision, no doubt. But we couldn't ignore the facts of the matter. Death Stranding is one of the best looking games of all time. The music is haunting and beautiful. Kojima's direction and shot selection is outstanding, and taking such an unprecedented risk with the direction of this game is quite frankly ballsy. The minutiae of managing your cargo and planning out your route are engaging if you let them be so, while the online components really help build a connected experience where you still feel utterly alone. Not everyone loves the heavy-handed and direct narrative, and arguably the game drags in the midsection. But if you can forgive the lack of meaningful combat and realize that the environment itself is your main adversary, Death Stranding is an experience that can really change perceptions. It goes out of its way to tell you exactly what it's about, and in doing so, opens itself to interpretation. The performances on hand here, highlighted by Mads Mikkelsen and Tommy Earl Jenkins, are killer. We dare you not to feel some feels in the endgame cutscenes. We're very proud to name Death Stranding COGconnected's Game of the Year for 2019.